Hello friends, a big loving welcome to our very own channel Ammu&You, where I am ever ready with lovely stories from the known as well as the lesser known authors around us. Today I have a beautiful story written by a very young author, Arti Jain, and the name of the story, Skyward Bound. I always loved turnstile doors. You know, the kind in office buildings and banks and other important places. You have to make up your mind about which direction you are going, in or out, and then just go for it. The undecided can go round and round forever. Life is like that too. No one knows that better than me because I take forever in life's turnstile doors. I can't make up my mind about anything. The more important decisions really freeze me, and I wonder really what to do. This is what happened when there was talk about finding a groom for me. I did not react in time to say that I did not want to get married just then. At least not to Harjeet, who insisted on being called Harry because everyone in London called him that. At college, I secretly stole glances at Imtiaz. He always sat by the window in his class, and when he wasn't frowning at his books, he looked out at the sky, just below which I stood, deliberately taking my own sweet time to put my cycle on its stand and lock it and pick up my bag and adjust my dupatta until his eyes descended from the clouds to where I was. I don't know if it was a thought he had, but I felt it was picked off the skies and the sight of me. But he always smiled, and he always pushed back his hair from his forehead. At that moment, I felt a sudden need to get out of there as fast as possible. Harry and I were to be married in a week because he had to be back in London before the start of the Christmas sale at his store. After the first time when he came with his parents to see me, he came to our house often. He sat in the courtyard with my father and ate everything that was brought out. Sometimes he'd walk to a corner and talk in hushed tones on the phone with his family and then give instructions to mine. My father, as tough and unshakable as the neem tree in the courtyard, turned as pliant as wine when Harry spoke to him. My mother was an unrecognizable mess, a mix of giddy happiness and breathless panic. She packed stacks of sweets in the new shiny suitcase. She fought with the tailor to get my suit stitched in time. She unpacked and packed my bags again and again. I heard her discussing things with my father. Soft tones. I heard murmurs about the loan that my father took from his office. I saw mother and him going to the bank and returning with all the jewelry from the locker. Everything she owned was in a small old black purse that she had tucked tightly under her armpit. The few times that Harry and I were left alone so we could get to know each other, he talked non-stop about his store, his car, his house. When he spoke, he waved his arms a lot, and when the sun caught his golden watch, you could see fireflies on the courtyard walls in the afternoon. He asked me if I had a tongue in my mouth, or I just stared at walls like a cow. I cleared my throat and started to tell him about my college and friends. He looked at me with his head tilted. Did they teach you to cook some good chicken at this college? More useful. He sniggered. Then he picked up his phone and started to look through his messages. He didn't wait to listen to what I was saying, forget about replying. He dialed a number and walked away to talk. When he wasn't talking on the phone, he was staring into the phone. Harry never looked up at the sky. On the day of the wedding, I woke up with a start. There was a racket outside. I looked out of the bedroom window into the courtyard. There were familiar faces and strangers. Some men were putting up a shamiana in the courtyard. One of my uncles was shouting instructions to the halwais. Father was giving our house help a piece of his mind. My brother and his friends were trying to hang a string of lights from the terrace. My younger cousins were practicing their dance steps. I shut the window and sat down on my bed again. Everyone says that the wedding day is the happiest day in a girl's life. Then why did I feel so numb? I am no fool. I know this is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. A life of comfort abroad was the dream of many. The farthest I could dream of was to be a school teacher. Here, I like that thought, but then again, if I lived abroad, maybe I could help my family with some money and have my brother move abroad too. I felt better just thinking about it. My mother was calling out. I got up to get ready. The wedding itself didn't take very long. Afterwards, Harry and I were made to sit down to eat lunch next to each other. He would sometimes lean close to my ear and whisper jokes that I didn't understand, his voice thick with half-chewed food. I knew they were jokes because he would laugh non-stop for several minutes afterwards. The more confused I looked, the longer he laughed. It was late at night when we left for the airport. Harry's parents were staying back to spend time with their relatives. So it was just the two of us in the back seat. He fell asleep. Soon, his arms and legs spread across the back seat like a pinned rat in the biology lab. I looked out into the darkness and cried all the way. For my parents, whom I wouldn't see again for a long time. For my friends, Shabbo and Rani, who hugged me and cried so much that they got their snot on my dupatta. For my college professor, who tried to talk my mother into letting me finish my degree at least, but gave up when I told her I didn't want her to call my mother because it upset her. For all the things I had to leave behind because Harry said it costs a lot of money if the luggage was even 250 grams more than what's allowed. And for Imtiaz, whom I saw on my last morning at college, I had spotted him from afar and quickly hid myself behind a wall. He was standing by the cycle stand. He seemed to be waiting for someone, looking at his wristwatch again and again. I turned back and pedaled home as fast as I could. As the memory rose, I squeezed my eyes shut, hard to get the image out of my brain forever. The taxi stopped. Harry jumped out and told the driver to put our luggage on a wheeled cart. I stepped out into the roar of cars, horns and people shouting. I felt like throwing up. Harry asked me for my passport. My hands were clammy and my fingers were slipping, unable to open the zipper of my bag. With one sweep, Harry snatched the bag, ripped open the zip and pulled out the passport. He tossed the bag back in my hands and muttered something in English. I didn't have to understand the words to feel their heat. Harry was striding towards the gate, tickets and passports in hand. He turned once and gestured me to follow. I hung my handbag on my shoulder and pushed the trolley to my vest, careful not to let the suitcases slide off. The airport was a vast, cavernous belly of a giant whale, and people were like chewed-up creatures floating in it. I was trying to keep pace with Harry, and every time he dipped out of my sight, my heart skipped a beat. Just when I thought I had caught up with him, he stopped suddenly. "Stay here," he told me, jabbing his finger at the floor. Before I could nod, he was gone. It was a relief, though. I looked around, just when I saw her first. She was dressed like me, in a bright salwar suit and pretty gold jewelry, a white purse hanging from her shoulder. Her face was turned away and she was looking towards the long line a few feet away. A small girl was clinging to her leg and staring at me. Something about the child's wide-eyed gaze and open mouth made me smile. She immediately hid behind her mother's legs. She peeped out again and I put my palm on my eyes and then peeped out to her. She broke into a laugh. "You're very naughty." Her mother patted her daughter's head in mock rebuke and smiled at me. Just then, a big suitcase fell down in front of us. At first, I thought it was from my pile, but it wasn't. A tall man in a blue tracksuit had flung a suitcase on the floor between the woman and me. He was hissing with anger. He flung open the suitcase and pulled the woman down by her elbow towards him. "Take this nonsense out now, stupid woman. Everything is overweight," he was almost shouting. The woman was grabbing things as he flung them out. An old metal box came out first, then a hand-knitted sweater, polythene bags tied with rubber bands, a cheap plastic toy, a photo frame. The woman was red in the face. Her dupatta had fallen off her chest to the floor. She was apologizing to her husband, trying to make him stop. "Uncouth villagers like you, 600 times you travel from India. Each time you bring garbage and expect me to pay for it? What can I expect for marrying a bloody sweeper's daughter?" The woman looked up for a second. Her eyes caught mine and were locked for what seemed like a long time. But it wasn't that long after all. She looked away, embarrassed. People were walking around the stuff on the floor, trying to not look at the drama unfolding at their feet. My chest was heaving with fear and anger and shame. The little girl was wailing. I was looking at that woman and I thought I was that woman, or would be soon. Her eyes had drilled a hole in my heart, and every lie I had told myself flowed out of it in an unstoppable gush. And with it, something in me collapsed to pieces. I saw Harry gesturing to me from the line. I was looking at him, but it was as if my limbs were bolted to the floor. I saw Harry leave the line and come towards me really fast. He was frowning with irritation. Before he could say anything, I turned to face him. "I can't come with you, Harry," I said. "This was a mistake. My mistake." "Have you lost your mind, you idiot?" I didn't wait to hear the rest of what he had to say. I turned away. I was walking faster. "Stop," someone said behind me. I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. My heartbeat and the sound of my heels on the floor were one. I was running. "Madam, madam, you can't go out of this way," a man called out. I threw myself at the turnstile door and pushed my way out. Outside, the sun was about to come out and the air was cool and pink. I stopped to look up and the sky spread itself out for me to fly. I'm sure, friends, you can understand this story. If you've liked it, please like, share and subscribe. Would really love to hear your thoughts on the story. Your comments make me very happy and they connect us. Thank you for listening to this story. I will soon come again with another story to narrate to you. Till then, stay safe, stay blessed, and bye.